This is the definitive Killers albums best to worst. This is my opinion. You might have a different opinion. That's absolutely fine. I'm going to list all 9 Killers albums from first to last, including live albums, including greatest hits, everything. So, we have Hot Fuss, Sam's Town, Sawdust, Day and Age, Live at the Royal Albert Hall, Battleborn, Direct Hits, Wonderful Wonderful, and their latest album, Imploding The Mirage. So I think was that 9? If you want to give me your list, please let me know in the comments and we'll discuss it and we'll talk about it, and I can see what you like about a certain album or don't like about a certain album. I'm more than happy to hear why you disagree with me. It's absolutely fine. That's the purpose of this video. And don't look back, just run for cover. So at number 9, I'm going Wonderful Wonderful. Now, I love the man, I love Run for Cover, and I love Wonderful Wonderful, the song. And I like these songs more than any other song on Imploding The Mirage. However, the album itself, I just found really boring. And I don't know whether it's just because at the time when it came out, I wasn't that fussed about hearing the album. I was at a stage where I wasn't really that fussed about listening to the Killers. The album just bored me, and I haven't wanted to go back to it since. I listened to them 3 songs that I listed, but other than that, there's never been an urge to go back and listen to the album. It might completely change my opinion on it if I went back and heard it. I've got no interest in going back and listening to it because I listened to it all through, and I just thought it was so boring. So unfortunately, Wonderful Wonderful is my least favourite Killers album. Let me introduce you to a featherweight queen. She got Hollywood eyes, but she can't shoot what she sees. Number 8 is their latest album, Imploding The Mirage. As an album, that's why it's my second least favourite Killers album. I think as an album, it's probably more listenable than Wonderful Wonderful. I've listened to it a couple of times. I listened to it when it came out, and I know that if I went back and listened to it, I would enjoy it. I know that it would grow on me, the album. I don't think Wonderful Wonderful would. I really like Caution and My Own Soul's Warning, but other than that, there was nothing that really stuck out when I listened to it. There was nothing that really grabbed me in and thought, this is really good. This is like dragging the album through. I made a point in one of the earlier videos that it sounded a lot like The War on Drugs, but just not as good as The War on Drugs. So in that case, I would rather just listen to The War on Drugs, and I feel like that's the case. Once I've got that in my head, I can't really let that go. So yeah, that's 8 on the list. I did my best to notice when the call came down the line. 7 is Live at the Royal Albert Hall. It's a good album. It's a good live album. It's a good DVD that comes with it, and everything else. Good set list. However, I just think that it was done at the wrong time. I would rather have a Sam's Town live album than a Day and Age one, and that's the only reason why it's so low down. I just think it was done at the wrong time. Was it blown by the wind? It was still of my mind. 6 is Battleborn. Now this isn't, for me, this is an album of 2 halves. I like half of the album, I don't like the other half of the album. There are songs on it that I really like. Deadlines and Commitments, Battleborn, Flesh and Bone, Runaways, The Way It Was, Miss Atomic Bomb. There's a lot of good songs on this album. There's a lot of great Killers songs on this album. I also feel like there's a lot of the worst Killers songs on this album. I don't like Be Still. I don't like Heart of a Girl. I don't like From Here On Out. I don't like The Rising Tide. I just think there's songs on it that are arguably the worst Killers songs. That's why this album's sort of midway. I think it's a good album. I just don't think it's the best album. Give me a shot at the 5 is their greatest hits album, Direct Hits. Good album, as every greatest hits album should be. It's pointless releasing the greatest hits album if you haven't got the songs to sort of go on it. The Killers do, and you would think with it being a greatest hits album it should be number 1, but this album is criminally lacking Tranquilize, so that alone makes it 5th on the list. Shot at the Night's on it, which is the only time we really see that. It's not on an album. Great song, great Killers song, but Tranquilize should be on it really, shouldn't it? Where the bushes and the bombs are Tranquilize. 3 and 4 is a toss-up. 4 I'm going for Sawdust, and I just feel like there are some brilliant songs on Sawdust, I think, as a Killers fan. There's some brilliant songs on Sawdust, Tranquilize being one of them. Tranquilize I could make a video on its own about. I absolutely love this song. Loved it when it came out, love it now, love it more than I ever did. It features Lou Reed, and it's dark, and it's what I love about the Killers, and I don't feel like they've gone back to that since, and they've gone a bit sort of poppy, and I feel like they're at the best when they're at this, like, they've got this dark tone about the music and dark sound, and I don't feel like they've ever gone back to it. Show You How, Samstown Live at Abbey Road, Sweet Talk. There's a lot of good songs on this album, but there's also some like fairly iffy songs, which is to be expected. It's a B-side album. These are songs that didn't make the cut, you know, in earlier albums. So it's to be expected. There's some iffy songs on there, some good covers on there. Romeo and Juliet cover's really good. Not keen on the Shadowplay cover, not keen on Who Let You Go. So yeah, that's the reason it's 4th on the list. Third is Day and Age. I feel like this album's like become more appreciated over time. I feel like people have appreciated it more as it's sort of as time's gone on. When it came out, everyone just sort of clung on to Human, clung on to Spaceman. But this album's got a lot of good songs on it, and it's got a lot of interesting melodies on it, and I feel like they were trying to experiment with a different sound compared to the earlier stuff. Joyride I really like. This Is Your Life I really like. A Dustland Fairy Tale, which has become a really well known Killers song. It's got a different groove to it, this album, and they might not have got it spot on with every song on the album, but I think generally it's quite a good album. It's a different sound. Yeah, I like it. I've always liked it. I think it's good. I think there's some catchy songs on it, but it's just not it's not good enough to be in the top 2, unfortunately. And someone is playing again in the house that I grew up in. Now, at number 2, I've got to take my reminiscent goggles off with this one. Number 2 is Hot Fuss. I love this album. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. And if I had to pick a Desert Island disc, this album would be up there. This album would be on that list. That's just the way it is. I just feel like it's aged slightly worse than what's going to be number 1. Obviously it's going to be Samstown, but I just feel like some of the songs have aged. They sound very of that time, which is fine. Like, I don't mind that. It doesn't make me dislike the album. I just feel like Samstown's aged a bit better. To say it's only sort of a year and a half, 2 years between the 2 albums. The first half of this album is undisputedly one of the great indie pieces of music. Jenny Was a Friend of Mine, Mr. Brightside, Smile Like You Mean It, Somebody Told Me, all these things that I've done. You're going to struggle to find a better set of indie songs on one album. I mean, that's just a fact. That's just a fact. Yeah, Mr. Brightside's become a sort of meme. It's become a song that people are sick of hearing. When you disconnect that feeling of it away, it's a fucking good indie song. And, you know, it's a great album. It's a great album. On Top, criminally underrated. Believe Me, Natalie, Midnight Show. I just think it's a great album. It's a great album that I love. I've always loved it. I've loved it since day one. The fact that it's aged slightly worse is why it's number 2. Have you ever seen the lights? Number 1, of course, is Samstown. It's a very different sound to Hot Fuss. To say it's only, like I said, a year to 2 years difference. For me, it has the best 2 Killers songs on it, Read My Mind and When You Were Young. My favourite Killers song is Read My Mind, but my go-to Killers song is Samstown, and, you know, this album homes them 2 songs, and it also homes When You Were Young. But it's not just that though, is it? It's Bones, it's For Reasons Unknown, Bling, Uncle Johnny. I remember at the time, I was a bit uncomfortable that the Killers had changed the look. You know, they were this clean-cut indie band, and they'd gone the opposite way. Brandon Flowers had this weird moustache, and short hair, and he was wearing a waistcoat, and they were wearing leather, and I was just like, what they doing? What they doing? But I've grown to love it, and it's now my favourite era of the Killers. I love the energy that this album has. I love the album cover. I love the sound. I love the guitar. I just love everything about it. I genuinely love everything about it. And the reason it's top ahead of Hot Fuss is just I think it's aged better. Yeah, it's a good album, innit? It's a good album. So that's my favourite Killers album. That's my list. I appreciate people that have different opinions, different lists. Let me know what yours are. What's your favourite Killers album? What's your least favourite Killers album? Let me know in the comments, and we'll have a discussion about it. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. Feel free to subscribe if you want to. You know, it's up to you. I would appreciate it if you did. Well, you know, it's your life. Do what you want.